Do you see what I'm holding up? I'm holding up cash. If you actually took the time and counted it for the 5 seconds I had it up, $600. Pay attention. Every once in a while, I get a PM asking me, what weapon would be good for my house? Well, I cannot fully answer that. Obviously, most of us only have that much laying around where we can get a decent weapon and be able to protect our loved ones. Now, if you can raise up yay much, you can get a better weapon. Obviously, for that, you can get a little bit of a better weapon. Now let's get into the feature. Obviously, we all don't have money laying around, but yet we want to be able to protect our loved ones. So, we're going to talk about what we can get for the money that we have available. I've even seen in some places where you can pick up one for less than 2 bills. Used, of course, but hey, you know what? It's something to protect your loved ones, right? So, with that being said, obviously I had more money in that stack, but I'm not going to pull it out. We're going to talk about calibers. We're going to talk about what weapon would be good for a certain situation. We're going to start off small, then we're going to go large, then we're going to go into rifles and shotguns. Now, obviously, I've got an assortment of weapons next to me. You can see one barrel over there. We're going to talk about that a little later on. First weapon I'm going to feature is something I've had laying around my house for a number of years. It's been in the family, what have you. The weapon right now is a 32 ACP, or 32 auto. This is a FN or Browning 1922, depending on, the maker, but we all know it's a Browning pattern made by FN. It's a 32. The standard magazine holds 9 rounds. Some of them have 7, what have you. How much can these be sought after for? These can be sought after for well under $400. 32, longer barrel, obviously. You got a 4-inch barrel opposed to a 2, a 1, what have you. So therefore, you're going to have a little bit more accuracy, a little bit more velocity. All what you want and knockdown factor. It's got a little bit of weight to it, nothing much, but obviously, I'm going to do a feature on this weapon a little later on. I got to wait for a couple more parts. But this weapon right here has definitely seen some time. We'll talk about that later. These can be sought after for about $400. Now, let's get into some bigger calibers, shall we? Now, for those of you who are worried about, I don't have a lot of room where I can keep a rifle or a big handgun. Is there something a little bit smaller? Ruger LCP. It's a 380. Obviously, smaller than the palm of your hand. Easy to hide, easy to conceal. Nobody will know you'll have it on you until time counts. Now, obviously, from my thumb until my index finger, that's the size. So yes, it is easy to conceal. Now you're talking, you get a factory 6-round magazine. You keep one in the tube if you want to. Downside with this weapon, obviously, if you pull the trigger, it goes bang. If you don't have that magazine in there. So, obviously it does have its downsides, but it's still something for your house. Sights really aren't that big on it, so therefore you can't really get that great of a sight picture. Sought after, used, I've seen these as low as under $200. New, I've seen them Without the laser, you're talking about $260. With the laser, you're talking about another, I think maybe a max of $100 depending on where you go. So you're talking a max of $360, and you can have yourself a little weapon. So let's jump up in size. What else do I have in my little bag of tricks? A personal favorite of mine. Glock 19. We all know it. We all love it, right? Little 9mm. These will also do the 9x19 or 9mm NATO, what have you. Then you can do the 9mm plus P, and then you can even do the really pressured loads, the plus P plus. Factory barrel will handle it. Don't shoot a lot. Yes, they will chew it up, but we'll talk about that later. So, you know, easy to a little harder to conceal, but you know what? You got 15 rounds with this. 15. Or in some states, 10. Keep one in a tube, so you're talking that's 11 or 16. Plus you can also do the 19 or 17 round magazine. You can also throw the 33 round stick in it. Now that's a lot of love right there. Pull on this thing has been modified a little bit. I dropped it down to about 4.5 pounds or so. A little bit of deck tape on it. You know, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Yeah. You can see a little strip over there, a little bit over there, some over there. You know, it suits me for what I want. Plus, I also upgraded the recoil guide rod. So, again, it suits myself. This is actually one of my carry pieces. So, now, how much can you get that one for? Brand new, you're talking in Connecticut. I've seen them as low as $499 with tax. You're talking, you know, roughly about $535. Brand new, out the door. Now, used, I've seen them as low as just about $400. Modified, that's a different story. The more stuff you add into it, is it going to increase the price? Yes and no. It's going to increase the price on the sale price, not how much the store is going to buy it from you. Now, let's get into something a little bit more bigger caliber, a little harder to conceal, but definitely a fun little toy. Some of you may know what this is. This is a Smith & Wesson 4006 chambered in 40 Smith & Wesson. I think this one has 13 round magazines, so you're talking that's 13 plus 1. Now the reason why I like this one, obviously, for home defense. You can keep a round in the tube. Now, let's see. Yep, nothing in the chamber. This has two different trigger pulls on it. Now you can see the hammer is back, right? Guess what? It's not going to go bang without that key. The magazine is the key in here, so it does have that magazine or magazine safety. So the weapon isn't going to go bang. You can keep a round in the tube as long as you find your key. You know where your key is. You're having a great day. Now, as for price on that, you're talking, that was actually a police trade-in. I think I picked it up for $250, $260, somewhere right around there. Let's go up in caliber again. Now, Springfield XD. This is an XD45 subcompact 5-inch tactical. This thing will let you know it's fired. Does it mean it's bad with accuracy? No. It comes from the factory with a 10-round magazine and a 13-round magazine. The 10-round magazine actually makes it fit flush. The 13-round magazine sticks out about here. But this thing has also been modified as well. The trigger's been lightened. It's definitely a nice little piece. I can rack off rounds out of here really quick. Now, downsides on this weapon. Obviously, as you already heard, weapon is loaded. You go to pull the trigger when somebody's knocking on your door. Guess what? It's still going to go off. So, it does have its ups and its downs. You know, as for takedown ability, you're going to have the weapon locked and cocked. But you got to pull the slide back, lift up on the other side. No sooner you release it, guess what? Your round's going to come out. Your weapon's going to be free. Easy to conceal. Now again, this one has been modified a little bit besides the trigger. Again, a little bit of duct tape. You know, you can find it at like skate shops and stuff like that for like $10 or so, depending on how much of a grip you want. Again, you know, a lot of parts for this are readily available, such as like magazines, stuff like that. So you're talking this brand new this one brand new out the door is like $530, $540. You know, maybe even as high as $6 depending on where you live. How much did I pick it up for? Well, I'm kind of like one of those little sticklers. That's how much I paid. Springfield XD45. They didn't even mark it as a subcompact, but it will recoil just because it's a little bit of a lighter weapon. Now, let's go up in price a little bit more. We all know this weapon. We all love this weapon. Right? Obviously, how much I paid for this weapon isn't how much, you know, it's actually worth. I think I paid about $5 for it. It's a Kimber 1911. You know, it's a 45. You know, obviously, it did not come with that little laser, you know. It didn't come with a laser. I added that on. I think that one cost me about another $200 or something like that. All the trigger work I did to it, you know, again, you're talking about another $120 to $200. Accurate. Now, obviously, it comes from the factory with a 7-round magazine. 8-round magazine. I've even seen drums for it. I've seen 10-round stick magazines by Wilson Combat. You know, obviously the stuff is out there. Parts are definitely readily available for this thing. This thing has been around for over 100 years. Parts are out there. All in all, you know, I've seen these go for about $900 brand new. Used, I've seen them anywhere from $600 to $700. You know, somewhere right around there, unless it's the older model, which this one is, Series 70. You know, something without the firing pin safety. But this thing right here is definitely worth it. You got a 45 in your hands. You don't have to really worry about over penetration. You know, what have you. Now, let's get into the next weapon. Smith & Wesson 27-2. You know, you can always tell Smith & Wesson's just by looking over here. It'll actually tell you the model number. 357 Magnum. Now, with this weapon and all 357 Magnums, at least the revolvers, you can run 38 special in it. But not only that, you can also run 38 special plus P. Ooh. The reason why, the lower pressures in, or the pressure in a 357 Magnum is a lot higher than it is with a 37 or a 38 plus P. So, this is definitely a nice little piece to have. 6-shot. It's a heavier weapon, so you're not really going to feel it once it's fired. Now, obviously, with a 5.25-inch barrel, it will definitely help out with recoil. Now, price for that, I really haven't seen too many of them on the market, at least, the blued ones, the older ones, what have you. On average, you could probably pick one up for about $600. Now, let's go into another wheel gun. Colt Trooper or Colt Python. Now you have to worry about it. The Colt Python obviously is going to fetch a hell of a lot more. The Pythons are typically getting right now for about $2,000. Again, this is a 357 Magnum, so you can run 38 special and 38 special plus P. Whether it says it's rated for it or not, doesn't matter. The pressures in the 38 special plus P are still a lot lower than they are with the 357 Magnums. You're going to have a little bit more versatility, at least with ammo, because these cartridges have been out for a long time. Now, obviously, with anything with an exposed hammer such as this, you could fire it in single action. Therefore, the trigger pull is going to be very lighter, very light. So, how much can you get these for? The Colt Troopers, obviously, you're not going to get as much as you would with, you're not going to get as much as you would with a Python, but you could still fetch them for about anywhere from the Saturday night specials I've seen go for $400 just for parts, and then for something decent, something like this, you're looking between $700 to $900, unless it's brand new in box and everything else like that. But they haven't manufactured these things for a long time. So, that's about it, at least handgun wise. Now let's get into the rifles and shotguns. For those of you who want something a little bit cheaper, obviously a 22 is great to have in the home. Cheap to shoot, accurate, what have you. Downside is a 22 really isn't going to have that knockdown factor unless you put the rounds right where they have to go. So, this is actually a Marlin Model 60. I talked about this in an earlier video. So, other downside is if you have to actually reload at least this one, you got to do it the hard way. It's not like the newer, or it's not like the 1022s where you actually have a magazine to drop. 22s, you have a little bit of versatility with it, so I'm not really too worried about it. Would I ever use it as home protection? No way. But I've seen these go for about $100 in stores, what have you. When I worked on this thing, I actually think I paid about $50 just for the stock, because the original one sucked. So, obviously that's definitely something that you can look into. But remember, if you're going to shoot somebody, shoot him until he's down and not moving no more. End the story. Key point with a 22. Key point with a 22. Anywhere else is just going to aggravate him. Now, let's go with something a little bit more modern. AR-15. Every once in a while, you can actually come across these in a gun store for used anywhere from $600 to $1,000. This one was actually built by me, so yeah, I know how much I dumped into it. But the versatility that you have with these, yeah, even any weapon with the Picatinny rail systems on the bottom. Yeah, obviously you can have your light. Ooh, that's bright. But you can also match it up with that laser. So therefore, you have a little bit more versatility as to what you want to do. Run some kind of an optic on them, what have you. Again, these things are a little bit more pricey, but would I recommend it for home protection? No. Uh-uh. Uh-uh. Reason being, if you value your neighbors and you like your neighbors, even if you hate your neighbors, don't use it for home protection. Reason behind it, really over penetration. If you lived on like a farm or someplace where you're going to have a little bit of room to play, then let's rock and roll. Other than that, it'd be kind of pointless to have in your house. At least for personal protection. Now, let's go into a different caliber, right? An SKS, chambered in 7.62 by 39. Ammo is definitely out there. It's definitely cheap. As for the rifle itself, you're talking anywhere from decent condition, even with non-matching numbers. You're looking at about three to 3.5 with matching numbers. Again, this is one without the grenade launcher on it. Definitely accurate. But the other versatile part about it is, even though you may only have 10 rounds in it, you fire your 10 rounds, guess what? You still got backup. And it's attached. Go figure. So, you have a little bit of versatility with that. So, and, obviously, ammo is definitely cheap. I think the cheapest boxes I've seen is like $3.99 for like 20 rounds at Walmart. Now, as for accuracy, would I use it for my house? Not where I live. No way in hell. Even though me and my neighbors really don't see eye to eye, I still do like them every once in a while. Again, I'd pick that up if I was going to be on a ranch. Either a ranch or someplace someplace I'm going to be with a little bit of room. Because obviously with 7.62 and the 2.23, you're going to have a little bit of range to it. Which brings me down to my last weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the Remington 870. These things you can find at gun shows used for under $300. 12 gauge. Obviously, this one's been modified a little bit more. 15 rounds on here. Another 5 in it, plus 1, plus 5. So you're talking, right there is 30 rounds. Or 25, I'm sorry. And even still. Now, they have so many options with this. Obviously, it didn't come with the sight or with the rail on top, so I added that on. The stock is not factory either. I think that ran me about $100 or so, 120. The power pack, the thing that holds a couple extras. I think that was like another $60. Heat shield, red dot, whole 9 yards. Would I use this for home protection? You damn right. You know, you have a lot of versatility, at least with the ammunition wise. Not only that, the intimidation factor alone is priceless, right? So yeah, you have a little bit of versatility with this, at least what ammunition wise goes, and that's going to be the next piece. Let's go check it out. Let me just put that down. Okay, now I have a whole bunch of ammunition sitting in front of me. So, let's check it out. Oh, what is this? Is this a smorgasbord of ammunition? Now, obviously, we know what some of these calibers are. You know, if we're around them long enough, we're going to pick up on it. Even if we watch, like, some of the bigger guys shoot. You know, they like to show their ammunition. So, I lined a few rounds up. You know, we're going to start off with the small end. We have the 22 over here. You know, you can see why it's not great for home protection. You have your 32 Remington, or 32 automatic. Again, you can use that for home protection. Obviously, if it was used in World War II, it had to have had some kind of use. Now, let's go into over here. 380, a little bit bigger, a little bit fatter, happy. Next round is the 9mm. We should all know what those look like, but again, I pulled it out specifically for the size factor. What's the next round? Oop, we got the 40 Smith & Wesson. There's actually a couple rounds that are based off of the 40. You know, this little piece right here. The one round that is based off of it, you have the 10mm, and then you also have the 357 SIG. Now, the difference between the 40 and the 357 SIG is the 357 SIG is a 40 case that's neck down with a 9mm projectile on it. They designed it to go after, or to act like the 357 Magnum. We'll get into that one. Next round is the 45. We all know that round. We all love that round. Obviously, with so many people rocking that 1911 on their name, had to have been good for something. That cartridge has been out for over 100 years. So obviously, if it's been around long enough, it's been doing something right. Next round is the 38 Special. Not only that, the 38 Special plus P. You know, this is an older round. But again, I say, if you own a 357 Magnum, you can use 38 Special plus P. So, the next round is a 357 Magnum. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into grain weights and whatnot. 357 Magnum, you know, you could see what kind of ammunition I like to keep, right? Fast moving around. Obviously, it's going to be coming out over at buck naked speeds, you know, what have you. Next round, 223. Now, you can definitely see the size difference. The 223 is nothing more than the 22 with a pointed nose and a little heavier. The lightest load I found, or lightest load you can normally find, is a 55 grain. But you're talking, that cartridge is almost filled with powder. So therefore, hence the reason why it's not great for home protection. Next round is the 7.62 by 39. Again, I wouldn't recommend it for home protection, but it's definitely out there. Now we're going to go into some bigger stuff. You can definitely see the size difference. I mean, like, holy. 12 gauge, all of them. Okay? You have birdshot. I want to say that's actually either a 7.5 or 9 shot, what have you. Great for home defense, especially if you have neighbors that live like really close to you, like condo wise. Then you have your double aught buck. This is actually a military overrun. Yeah, for those of you who are looking for it. I believe those are actually Winchesters. Yep. It's at least used in Winchester brass. I believe it is Winchester. Yep. So, Winchester ammunition, Eaton, Illinois. Back of the package says it all, right? 5 shots. You can find these typically for about $5 for 5 rounds. Maybe a little bit less if they're on sale because they are a military overrun. Therefore, it's going to be a little on the cheaper side. You can probably pick up 5 rounds for the same price as you can for 25 of these. 25 of the birdshot, you're talking 25 birdshot, you're talking about $6. Now, you want to talk about some over penetration? These 2 rounds are it. Those are both 1 ounce slugs. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, one of them is 2 3/4, the other one is 3-inch. Obviously, this one's going to kick a little bit more than this one. These are still great to have. But, if you want to do it on a budget, you could do cut shells with these, or you could do some other type of shells. You could do wax slugs, basically taking out the shot in this, melting some wax, mixing the wax with the shot, loading it in. I believe Iraq Veteran 8888 is actually doing the cut shells, or actually did the cut shells, and the wax slugs. Now, the other good thing about this is the birdshot will not over penetrate. It'll go through, it'll hit your target, and that's it. It'll hit your wall, but it's not going to over penetrate. Obviously, these things will go through your wall, your neighbor's wall, and probably into your other neighbor. If you live in like a condo complex or some small confined area. So, now what have we learned in this video? Well, obviously, for that amount, you can have a decent weapon. For that, you can have a better weapon. For that, you can even have a better weapon. For that, you can have a really good weapon. Something that's really trusted. For that, you can get even a good weapon again. Oh, forgot one. Now, for that and above, again, you can have yourself a damn good weapon. Now you're talking, there's $7 right there. Almost everything I showed you could have been bought with that. Almost. The only thing I don't believe you could have gotten for that price is the AR and, a 1911. Now, obviously, with ATI and stuff like that, you can get a cheaper 1911. I think you're talking for an ATI or something like that, you're talking about $4. So, you could still have something decent for your protection in your house. The 45 I do highly recommend. Um, it'll hit your target. It'll knock them down with a couple rounds, but it won't do too much over penetration. 9mm, you're looking a little bit more on over penetration. The 380 and 32, you're not really going to get too much over penetration. The 22 will almost stop. The 38s and 357 Magnums, I forgot what movie it was that said it best. My 357 Magnum will go right through your 350 or something along that line. So therefore, you're gonna have to worry about a little bit of over penetration, but still, you know, sometimes the presence of a weapon will do justice. Sometimes the guys will just laugh. Obviously with a revolver, you could see that round as it's spinning. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to load both of these rounds. The 138, 357 Magnum. Now, imagine seeing that coming at you. But just to be on the really safe side, see how you have empty chambers? You can definitely see the light. Yes, I do know which way it rotates. Smith & Wessons operate the other way. But just watch that cylinder. Ooh, there's 2 rounds right there. What's the more intimidation factor? Looking at what's going to be coming at you? Or just being able to go? Now, of course, with a 38, you can easily just go. With a 357 Magnum, you could do the same thing. It's going to jump up a little bit. But if you really wanted to get accurate and you really just wanted to scare the shit out of them, cock it. Kind of lets them know you mean business. Decock them, you hold the hammer, and you slowly walk it down. Now, obviously, there you go. I do apologize about the lengthy video, but I wanted to do a video and basically show what you can actually get for a couple $100. Ammunition is anywhere from I think this stuff, this is a little 22. This is, of course, an older box, but a box of 50 22, you're talking $4. 50 rounds of plus P of 38, you're talking a little bit more. 1 ounce slugs, you're looking at a little bit more. Federal, your target load by Federal for your 12 gauge. Lately they've actually been running on a sale on them at a couple spots. This stuff right here. Obviously, I do actually like to support this company, at least this piece. A portion of every proceed actually does go to the Wounded Warrior Project. So, therefore, I don't mind spending the extra money on this box. But again, 25 rounds for like $5-6. $4. $4 or $5, somewhere right around there. We're gonna get into the little bit pricey stuff. $20. I think this box of Spear ended up running me, I forgot how much I paid. I think it was like $25, $26, something like that. 40, same company, 25 bucks at a different store. 50 rounds of 32. I think I've seen some cheap prices on it from like 14 to 20 bucks for 50 rounds. 45, nice little chunky round. You see the price tag right there. Yeah, it's definitely some pricey stuff. Definitely well worth it. Get 20 rounds. 20 or 25, something like that. 25 rounds. No, it's 20. Yeah, 9mm, same company. You might get 25 rounds. Now we're going to get into the big boy stuff. That'll definitely scare the crap out of whoever the hell you point it out of. So, with that being said, I hope this video was actually able to educate you a little bit as to what to look for. Now, again, I say I do apologize about the lengthy video, but some things had to be said. 7.62 by 39, I think I paid 30 bucks. Go on eBay or some of the military surplus places. Stripper clips. 10 rounds on each one for the SKS. Cheap. I think 10 will cost you like 6 bucks. So, from anywhere from that and beyond, you can get yourself a fairly decent weapon. Well, with that being said, I'm going to get off. I got some stuff to do. Got a couple emails to reply. And, with the next video, I'm definitely going to be featuring some weapons. For those of you who want to know what, that's definitely one of them coming up. Definitely one of them. Going to be showing how to disassemble it and everything else like that. Show you some of the key features on it. Obviously, we definitely do thank John Browning for not only this weapon, thank you, John Browning. Thank you, Samuel Colt. Thank you, Smith & Wesson. You know what? Thank you, America. You know why? Because you're helping me protect my loved ones. The Second Amendment is definitely something we should all know. Especially with some of the stuff coming out nowadays. Obviously, you don't want to bring a knife to a gunfight. But you don't want to bring a gun to a knife fight. Or do you? Yeah, you can see why I'm waiting on parts. Screw actually screwed up on me. I got a new one coming. We'll talk about that company that I got it from too. So, anyways, with that being said, I'm going to get off. You guys have yourself a wonderful night. Hopefully you guys actually stuck around and watched the entire thing. I know it's a little on the lengthy side. I do apologize. But you guys have yourself a safe and wonderful evening.